North America's largest developer of dollar stores. Over 4,600 stores open since 1993. For more information, visit our website at dollarstoreservices.com.
Okay, what I'd like to do is get started. We are America's largest developer of retail stores for independent owners. We've been opening stores since 1993, and we have over 4,600 opened in that time. We develop a number of different types of dollar stores. We do a dollar-only store, which is very much like a Dollar Tree. We also do a Dollar Plus store, which is similar to a Family Dollar or a Dollar General. We do a neighborhood market, which is kind of like a convenience store and works well in very urban areas. And we have an exciting new concept that we'll talk about a little bit more as we go on. It's our 1, 2, 3 store, where everything in the store is priced at $3 or less, and about half the products in the store sell for $1. So in that format, you have all the best of the dollar-only products and all the best of the Dollar Plus products. So it's a great format. It works with any type of competitive situation that you might have in your area, and very exciting for your customers. No matter which concept you ultimately develop, we have a capsule of 7 key services that we provide you, all with the goal of getting your store opened quickly and efficiently and positioning you best for success. And those 7 services are financing assistance, site location assistance. Once you've selected a location, we negotiate the lease agreement. Then we do a complete setup of the store, including all the labor, the fixtures, the equipment, the merchandise, the interior signage, and much, much more. Everything inside the 4 walls is included in your store package. We provide you extensive training. You become part of our supplier network, which gives you discounts of 20 to 25% on merchandise every time you order for as long as you're in business, just by being part of our network of stores. And you get unparalleled long-term support. And what that means is for the life of your business, we're going to have someone here in the office that's assigned to work with you to help you source new products. They're going to give you updated supplier and product information every week, help you get ready for every season and holiday, and provide all the assistance that you might ever need as your business grows and prospers. That's our basic program. I'd like to take a minute or two and talk about each of those items. In financing, for example, we have a number of different types of lenders that can address different credit profiles. So if you don't think you can get financing, most often we find that we're able to help our clients to do so, including working capital. Never assume that you can't get funding. We work with SBA. We have programs where you can borrow against your 401k or CDs or IRAs. We help you with business plans if you need them. A lot of our clients will use the home equity that they have in their homes, which is very inexpensive money if you want to borrow against your own home. Works out very nicely. And if you need a little bit of credit repair, we have a number of lenders that can do that at little or no cost and help you out. The first thing that happens is if you decide to go forward, we have you go into finance, and within 72 hours, you will know how much funding you'll qualify for, what the terms and conditions are of those loans, and then hopefully you make the decision to go forward. If you do, we move you into site location. We have an in-house department of site locators and leasing managers. They will identify every location in your area in the size range that you've decided to develop for your store. We do all the research. We provide you with all the analysis regarding competition, demographic analysis, traffic counts, household income, population, and many other markers that are important to finding a great location. You will have access to all that information through a secure website that we provide you access to. It's called EasyTrack. We developed it ourselves just for this purpose. And you will see everything about every location. Then we'll ask you to go out and visit those locations, give us your feedback, because you may see things that we do not see. For example, is the shopping center well lit at night? Is it well maintained? Is it a safe environment for you to operate your stores in? And you'll give us that feedback. And as we come across locations that we believe have merit, meet our basic criteria, and that you like, we'll negotiate on them. And we'll negotiate on as many locations as together we believe are worthy of consideration. Once we get to the final set of numbers on each of those locations, the final rent, how much free rent the landlord's going to provide, how they're going to deliver the space, good evening, welcome, and so on, then we can help you kind of compare and contrast each one and make the best decision for yourself, good evening, welcome, as to what might be that best location. Once you've done that, our leasing managers get very involved. Our leasing managers are extremely experienced. The newest one has been with us about 7 years now. The others much longer. And each one of them negotiates over 100 leases every single year, retail leases. So they're very experienced and they know what to look for, and they're focused only on making sure that they do the best job for you. We start with a letter of intent that we submit to the landlord, and that contains over 17 key provisions that we're going to negotiate for, all very important protections and advantages for you. For example, just a few. We make sure that the restrooms are ADA compliant, which means that they are compliant with the Americans with Disabilities Act and they're handicapped accessible. If you were to lease a space that did not have ADA compliant restrooms, you would be required to retrofit them as the tenant, and that can cost anywhere from $10,000 to $12,000, $15,000. We want the landlord to do that, not you, so we're very cautious about things like that. We also negotiate for the exclusive use, which means if you open your dollar store in that center, the landlord cannot lease to another dollar store and put them in competition with you. You're protected. Your use is protected. We also negotiate for a dark clause, and what a dark clause is simply if you lease a location that's got an anchor tenant in, and that made the location attractive to you, maybe there's a grocery store or a Target or a Walmart in that center, so you like being in a center with that type of anchor because they draw a lot of traffic. Well, if one day that anchor decides to close or move, whatever those things might be, you don't have the same location that you originally signed up for. So with that dark clause, you have options. The landlord either has to release you from the lease or reduce your rent significantly until he can put a new anchor tenant in that space, or you can vacate and move to a new location. So we build as many protections as possible into a lease for you, and that's only a few of the 17 that we negotiate. We also negotiate for the landlord to do all the work for you, to ready the space, to put in flooring and paint and whatever else might be needed to make that space ready for you to move into. Then our leasing manager reviews the lease, makes whatever changes he deems need to be made. He'll review that lease then with you, and if you're in accord with all the conditions, the final conditions of the lease, then you sign it, and we move forward. The next thing that happens is now we're ready to set up your store. So now we're moving in a couple of different directions. Our operations department is working with you to get you ready to set up your store, for us to set up your store. You know, they're walking through the different things that you need to do to establish your business licensing and sales tax applications and things of that nature. We're also scheduling the store setup and coordinating with the landlord so that as soon as that space is ready, we're on the doorstep to set up your store as quickly as possible to make sure that you get the fullest advantage of the free rent that we've negotiated for you. And typically that's 2, 3, or 4 months of free rent. So we want to time our arrival as soon as possible after the landlord hands you the keys so that you get the advantage of most of that free rent or all of that free rent in a lot of cases. It's very important. At the same time, you're going to be working with our trainer, and she's going to initiate your training, and we do that over the phone and via the internet. There are test modules involved with training as you complete a section. Good evening, welcome. As you complete a section, there's a small test that you take, and then our trainer goes over those with you. She also spends a lot of time on the phone with you discussing merchandise, suppliers, everything involved in the operation of your store. Our training manual has over 36 key topics and sections in it. She reviews them all with you. And we tailor that training to you based on your experience. If you have a lot of business experience but no retail experience, obviously we spend more time on the retail aspect of running a business. If you have worked in retail and have good experience there, but if you've never owned or managed a business, we focus more on the operational aspect. So we make sure that whatever your experience is and wherever you come from in your life, we make sure that you're in the best possible position to operate your store and operate it very well. So now your training is done and our crew is ready to arrive to put your store together. We send out a store setup supervisor and we hire labor, local labor. We arrive on site usually on a Sunday evening. Our setup supervisor will meet with you, walk the space. You'll give him a set of keys. Monday morning our crew is there. Usually by first thing Monday morning, the truck carrying the store fixtures and equipment arrives. Our crew is there to unload it. They start setting up the shelving and putting the slat wall on the walls and setting the checkout and everything else. Monday afternoon or Tuesday, the merchandise starts arriving and we're receiving it and setting it up as it comes in. And barring anything very unusual, by Friday or Saturday, your store is ready to open. Uh, we do a little brush-up training on cash handling and so forth at that time, usually on Friday or Saturday, and you're ready to open. Takes us about 7 days from start to finish. It's an incredible process, and we do it often. Our build-out supervisors, our setup supervisors, each do 40 to 50 stores a year. So they're very skilled and very efficient in putting your store together. It's kind of exciting to be involved and watch it, and I know that you will be. After the first 30 days of operation, we offer to do a complete review of your store's operations with you, all with the goal of making sure that you're on the right track and moving forward. Our senior staff does that for you. And you will be assigned a merchandise coordinator. Your trainer will stay with you on the phone daily for the first 60 to 90 days that you're open. And after that, on a weekly basis. If you feel at that point in time that you've got your arms around the store and things are going well, we'll move your store to a long-term coordinator's desk, and that person performs that same level of support, helping you write orders, finding new merchandise, getting you ready for every season and holiday. And they will be in touch with you several times a week, but they are always available to you at any time. And that goes on for the life of your business. And then, of course, don't want to forget that you become part of our supplier network, as I mentioned earlier. We have over 80 suppliers located around the country to keep your delivery time short. Uh, Good evening, welcome. Some of them are general merchandise suppliers, and they supply a lot of different categories. Others are niche suppliers, and they specialize in categories like electronics or costume jewelry or greeting cards and so forth. We'll select the suppliers initially that are best suited for your store based on where you are and where they are, and we move forward from there. Now, there are three keys to merchandise, and I'll touch on these very briefly, but they are important. Value, variety, and new merchandise. And that's the key to having a good merchandise program in your store. We provide value because we visit every one of our suppliers once a month. I do a lot of the traveling myself, and I negotiate all the pricing for you. Then we provide all that information to you, and you make the buying decisions as to what items you want to add to your store. And it's important to do that. We'll talk about that in just a minute. You have variety because we have so many suppliers and they're located close to you, and more importantly, most of them have freight guarantees. So if you're in Chicago, just as an example, and you have competition, your competitors can really only buy product from suppliers in and around Chicago because they don't have those freight guarantees and they don't have the supplier network. But you, on the other hand, will be able to buy from suppliers, good evening, welcome, located around the country, maybe in Los Angeles or New York or in Houston. So you will have products in your store that your competitors just don't have. It's just a huge advantage. The other thing with regards to variety is that most often when you buy merchandise in our business, you buy a carton that has 72 or 144 pieces of one item. It's a lot of product. With our suppliers, because our stores do so much business with them, they will ship what's called inner cartons. And what those are is instead of buying 72 pieces of an item, you can buy 12 pieces of an item because that's how they're packed inside that master carton. That allows you to have less investment in any one item and have many more items, if that makes sense. So it's a big advantage being able to buy that way, and our suppliers do that for you. And the last leg of the merchandise program is new merchandise, and that is key because when I come into your store, I know what I want. I've got a list of items. I shop just like you shop. So I'm looking for maybe shampoo, conditioner, some snack items. If you don't have your phone muted, could you please do so, please, so everybody can hear? Thank you. So I go in your store and I buy those key items that I'm looking for, and then I start to look around and maybe I pick up a set of linen placemats for my kitchen. My wife will like them. It'll make her happy, and they're only $1 or so. Maybe I'll see a man-made chamois to clean my car on the weekend, so I grab that. couple of toys for my grandkids. And before I know it, that I planned to spend $8 or $10, but now I'm spending 15 or 20 in your store because now I'm buying items that I didn't know I needed when I walked in the door, but I saw them and the value was good. I could see that, and so I decided to buy them. So I went forward and did that. And that's why every time you place an order, fully half of that order should be items that you haven't had before. So every time I come in your store, I see something new. Because I'll come back in a week. I'll be back next week. And I ran out of shampoo and I need my paper towels that I bought. But I don't need the placemats. They're still there. I don't need the chamois. I don't need the toys. But if you show me something new in those categories, well, now I'm a customer again. So the new goods component is extremely important. It builds your average sale and it builds your gross and net profit because people are buying items they never planned to buy. So and they get accustomed to that. Now they want to come back to see, gee, I wonder what Joe's store has next week that I didn't see when I was in there last week. So I'm coming back again and again and again. And with the merchandise network, as I mentioned earlier, because you're part of our network of stores, you will save 20 to 25% on merchandise every time you order, just by being part of our store network. Um, and that's saying that if you were to go to those same suppliers as an individual, you would pay 20 to 25% more for those items than you're going to pay because you're one of our stores. So it's a key advantage. If you were to buy $300,000 in inventory next year, you could save $60 to $75,000 just by being part of our supplier network. So it's a key advantage within our program. So as I mentioned, our program starts, I didn't mention, our program starts at $79,900 for 1,000 square foot, dollar only store, and all the prices are on the website. You can look at any of them. To get started, you simply need to put in place a $500 deposit, which is fully refundable if you can't get financing or if we don't find a location that you approve, or for any reason at all or no reason. At any time, you may say, John, I decided I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to look at something else, send my deposit back, and we do so. If you do open a store, that deposit goes towards the purchase price of your store, so you never lose it. I want to talk for a few minutes about what's going on in our industry, and I do want to remind you that there was an incentive for those of you that are on the call this evening. If you do decide to pursue this and take a look in a little bit more detail and submit an application deposit, if you open a store, you will get $2,000 in free merchandise just because you're on the call tonight. So good advantage for you, and I appreciate your taking the time. And I apologize, I never introduced myself. My name is John LaFronz. I'm the general manager here. I've been here for 18 years. I've been in the discount retail industry for over 40 years, and I hate to date myself, but well over 40 years actually. And every day is like a brand new day for me. I love it very much, and I think you'll find that the business is very exciting for you as well. Now let's talk for a couple of seconds about what's going on in our industry, because there's a lot of exciting things, and some of it you've seen in emails that we've sent out to you over time, over the last number of months, but I'll touch on them very briefly. Of course, most of us fortunately survived this pandemic last year. Very tough for a lot of retail businesses. However, our stores, because they were deemed to be essential businesses, did not have to close like many retailers did. So we were able to stay open and do business. And we were able to do really good business because we had items that people wanted and needed. Our stores had the PPE items, the masks, the sanitizers, the shields, the nitrile gloves, and all the other items that people were looking for in the traditional stores did not have available. They were not available. They couldn't get the product. Our stores had them, and they had them at the lowest prices possible. So that was a big advantage for our stores. And as you may recall, a lot of the grocery stores, certainly mine here, were out of paper products. They were out of household cleaners. They were out of wipes and so on. And people were very upset. Our stores had that product. Virtually had. Good evening, welcome. We had no issue getting that product to our suppliers for our stores. So many people that shop our stores were very happy to continue to do so, and many people that perhaps hadn't been in a dollar store for a while rediscovered them, and those customers have stayed because not only did they find those items that they needed right then, they also found value, they found great assortment, they found quality products. So they're staying. In fact, Dollar General, uh, for the second quarter of last year, they published their sales and profit figures so you can see them. They had the largest quarterly increase in the history of their company. Right at the height of the pandemic, in the second quarter, their sales were up over 22%. They had the largest year in the history of their company uh, because people found value. There was a survey that was done a little while back of grocery store shoppers, and they asked them a couple of questions. The first one was, did they feel they had been price gouged in grocery stores during the pandemic? And over 70% said yes, they were. They felt they were taken advantage of by the retailers, the grocery retailers. And then they asked them, what are the most important things to you when you shop? And the answer overwhelmingly, over 75% said price and convenience. Those were the two hot buttons for them. They wanted good value, obviously. They wanted to find the items they needed, and they wanted to get in and get out. Uh, they didn't want to go to Walmart and hike a quarter of a mile from the parking lot to the store to find out they were out of wipes or they were out of masks. Um, they want price, they want convenience. And what do the dollar stores have? All of that. We have a great assortment of products. We have the best prices on virtually every item that our stores carry. When you compare us to a Target or Walmart or grocery store, we're lower on virtually 80% of the items that we all carry together. And they want convenience. And our stores are located conveniently. You can park your car, go right in, or jump off the bus, get into a dollar store, get back out in 10 or 15 minutes that you've done your shopping, and you're on your way home. Dollar stores are more popular than ever. And there are a lot of positives in the economy now. You know, there's some of the states are experiencing, I know, a little bump in the COVID rates, but by and large, we're poised as a country for a great second half of the year. We're right in the middle of it right now. Unemployment continues to drop. Consumer spending is way up. There's a lot of stimulus money out there that people are trying to decide what to do with. The Treasury reported about a month ago that they estimated that consumers are sitting on over $1 trillion in unspent stimulus cash. So that bodes well for back to school and fall and Christmas, certainly for our stores, without a doubt. Um, the other byproduct of the pandemic is that, as I said, a lot of retailers unfortunately did not survive and had to close. But for us, what that means is there are a lot of key locations, prime locations available now, and landlords want to fill them, and they want to fill them with retail opportunities that they know are going to survive. Should we, hopefully not, but should a situation like this COVID-19 ever roll around again, they know that our businesses survive those things. They know that we're essential. They know that we can stay in business and do business, and of course pay their rent, which is what they're excited about. So, so that's what's happening in our industry. Uh, Within our company, the one thing I can tell you is that the interest has never been higher. We're extremely busy, which is a great thing. A lot of people are looking to get into this business. CNN reported last month that the dollar store industry will open more stores in the United States this year than all other retailers combined. That's drugstores, department stores, smoke shops, vape shops, tire stores. All those retailers combined are not going to open as many stores this year as the dollar store industry is. So that just tells you how high the interest is and how great the opportunity is. So that's kind of what's going on in the industry. I mentioned our 123 store. Uh, I'm very excited about it. We have a lot of them in development right now. They are great in that no matter who your competitors are in your area, they are totally unique. Uh, they have all the wow factor, I guess you would say, of the dollar-only stores, but then they have the ability to offer more types of products to your customers, offer more value, offer expanded categories than a traditional dollar store is able to because you have some price constraints, of course. So with all that being said, in a minute I want to open it up to questions. One thing that we do have that will let you, as you open your store, We have any number of add-on revenue generators that you might want to consider for your store. They are outside of the store packages, but there are many, many things that a lot of stores choose to do, um, and each area is a little bit different. So over time, we help them to develop those things. For example, a lot of our stores participate in the EBT program, which is a food stamp program, which our trainers can help you apply for and get set up in. You do have to be open to make that application, but we walk you through that. And it's a great opportunity because once a person has an EBT card and you have the ability to accept that, they can rather shop virtually every item in your store using that EBT card. So you have a customer built in at that point. We also, in some of our stores, they opt to do key duplication. If you've been to a Walmart or a Home Depot, keys run anywhere from $3 to $5. The key blanks actually cost 50 cents. So you can sell them at $1 or two for $3 and be far and away the least expensive source for getting keys made, and you can make a 2 or 3 time profit on them. There's rack programs such as Little Debbie, local bakers, Frito-Lay, things like that that you can add to your store. And there's a great amount of services that you can add too that have virtually little or no cost, but generate revenue for you and also generate traffic. And those are things like uh, faxing services, notary services, lottery ticket sales, bill pay. Uh, Notary is a great one because it's almost impossible to find a notary anymore, and there's virtually no cost for you to become one. And you charge $5, $10, $15 a page. Every state's a little bit different, but it's a great profit motive, profit incentive rather, for your store, and it's a great service for your customers. So with that, what I'd like to do is open it up to questions. I'd ask everybody to be considerate of everybody else. You know, there's going to be a tendency for a couple of people to speak out at the same time, and that's fine. But I would ask you just to identify yourself, give me your name and where you're from, and let's get to the questions. And I appreciate your patience getting to here, very much so. So who wants to kick it off? Hello, first
Hi,
question?
can you?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
I wanted to ask you, what did you say was the average time from now to opening? What is the possibilities of that?
Okay, good question. If all the stars align, it normally, if you need financing, it probably takes about 2 weeks to get that dialed in for you. We get you into site location. Typically, that can take about 30 days. I don't like to rush it. I want to make sure that we do all the due diligence and look at all the locations. But typically, it's about a 30-day process. And then we negotiate the lease, which takes about 2 weeks. So now we're at about 45 days or so. And if the space is ready, we can have you open within 30 days of that. So realistically, about 60 days, maybe a little bit longer from start to finish. And again, the site and leasing process is the one thing I do not like to rush. I want to make sure that we see everything there is to see and negotiate the best possible lease for you. So, answer your
Thank you.
question? Very good. Next question?
Hi,
Hi, who's this?
this is Gia. I just wanted to find out the profit side of things and how does the business sustain, because everything's the dollar. So, I mean, what's the profit margin like?
Okay, good question. Very good question. The On the dollar-only stores, the average cost of goods is going to be about 54 to 55 cents. Now, some categories have a higher average cost, some have a lower, but over the run of the store, all the categories about a 54 to 55% average cost, which makes your gross margin on sales about 40 on products rather about 45%, or 45 cents out of every dollar. I'm sorry?
Hello.
Hi, who's this?
Do you Hi, it's Tina from Michigan.
Hi, Tina.
Do
How are you?
you recommend? Hello. Do you recommend the amount of staff that is needed per square footage?
Yes, absolutely. We have a sample schedule that we give you for every size store, and it breaks it down both by the number of employees and the total number of work hours that a store typically requires. And then once you're open, you're going to adjust that up or down a little bit based on your sales. But yeah, it's a very good place to start. And just as an example, a dollar-only store requires about 84 work hours. 1,000 square foot dollar-only store, about 84 work hours. And that includes the owner, putting in a certain amount of time. And then we always recommend primarily using part-time employees because it gives you more flexibility. But yeah, for any size store that you choose to develop, and we go over that in great detail in training, scheduling, and so forth. But yeah, we can provide you with sample schedules and so forth. Next question?
Hey, yes, I have a question.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Hey, yes, my name is.
Go ahead.
Yes, my name is T. Young, and I'm in St. Louis, Missouri.
Okay.
And I was wondering, what is the seed of the startup cost or the seed money for opening a store?
Okay. Are you talking now about working capital, or are you talking about the cost of the store itself?
Correct.
Okay, working capital?
Yes.
Okay.
No, the cost of the opening of the store.
Gotcha. Okay. So let's, again, use the example of 1,000 square foot dollar store. That store package costs $79,900, so $80,000. And then we're going to recommend that you have on hand about another $18,000, and those funds would be used. You wouldn't pay them to us, but they would be used for your rent deposits, utility deposits, some working capital to have on hand when you open, some merchandise set aside so you can place a reorder right after you open up merchandise to keep your store full until you start generating some sales. And a little bit of money for maybe you want to do new flooring or paint or some odds and ends like that. So typically, if you were going to do that 1,000 square foot store, we would want you to have available to you total about $90,000 or so, 95,000.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you, T. Next question.
Hey, Will from Atlanta. How you doing?
Good, Will. How are you this evening?
Good. Hey, I have two questions.
Yes,
One, in regards to the business plan, is that a requirement in order to get additional money from the SBA? And the second question is using an EIN number or my social security number, is that option?
I'm sorry, Will, I didn't get the second part of your question.
Using an EIN number or my social security number, is there an option there between the two?
Okay. Usually they're going to look for the social first as opposed to the EIN.
Okay.
And with SBA, almost always they're going to require a business plan, but we will do that for you at no charge.
Okay.
Yeah, they almost always are going to ask for that. And they have typically they have, each bank is a little bit different, but typically that application they make the business plan overly difficult, but the one we have, they seem to always accept, and it's much more simple for them and for you and I to understand. So, but yeah, absolutely, whatever you need, we'll provide to you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next question. Hello, next question.
Derek, my name is Derek. I'm from Los Angeles.
Derek, good evening. Thanks for coming in.
Yes. If I pay the $500 initially, can I get a business plan as well for that amount, or do I have to pay separately for the business plan?
No, we would include it as soon as we know what you need it for. For example, is it a lender that you're going to use on your own, or but the short answer is yes. You don't have to pay any more for that, and we will provide it to you.
And the business plan, is that detailed so I can get immediately to the investors or to get some loan?
No, that's it. It will provide what you need to take to a lender. Now, some lenders may require more. So, typically what you want to do is, if you want to go that route, and that's perfectly fine, You want to talk to your lender to see what they need. Normally they'll have a loan package. And then what we'll do is we find a location in your area because the business plan has to be tied to a location. Otherwise, the numbers, are not grounded in anything. So we'll find a
Yeah.
location, and we'll do a business plan for you based on that location, with the understanding that ultimately, when you get your loan, we may have to find another location because that one may not be available, and that's fine. And the banks understand that. In fact, SBA works that way all the time. Just as one example, they know that if the SBA process takes 90 days, which sometimes it can take, uh, they understand the landlord's not going to hold the location for somebody for 90 days, hoping that they might get financing and come back to them. So we'll find a good location that's representative of what we know we're going to ultimately find for you, and base the business plan on that, so you can get to the lender. But yeah, no, we work through all of that with you.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you, Derek.
Hi.
Hi, who's this?
This is Gia again.
Oh, okay.
Can this business be run absent, like without having the owner there?
Absentee? It can. I would say this, Gia. 1,000 or a 1,500 square foot store is a little bit more challenging to do that, meaning that as I mentioned earlier, take 1,000 square foot store, you need about 84 work hours, and the owner would work part of them, 30 to 40, and then their pay would come out of the net profit of the store. Now, if you need to pay somebody else to cover those hours, it's going to reduce the net profit that you would get. But that can still work, because what a lot of our owners have done over time is kind of what you described. They developed a smaller store, 1,000, 1,500 square feet or so, kept their employment, or they had other things that they wanted to do, and paid an individual to staff those extra hours, usually a little bit above minimum wage. I would always recommend that you still keep control of the ordering process for yourself, because that is the most important function. And what a lot of owners do is then over time transition from their full-time employment to working full-time at their store as the business builds. So it's a great way to build an asset, and you don't have to, if you have good employment, you don't have to leave it today. You can the store can carry itself and generate some income for you, and then when you're ready to flip the switch and move into full-time store management, uh, you have that opportunity to generate even more profit for yourself. But I'd say at 1,000 square feet, you'll do better than break even paying someone. Um, at 2,000 or so square feet, you can generate a pretty nice profit as an absentee owner. And one thing that we do, Gia, just so you know, once we get into site location and leasing, and we identify a location that you like, and we negotiate to the final set of terms, rent and so forth, I'm always happy to sit down and do kind of an estimated P&L with you, so that we can see the potential of that or any location. Because now we know some real numbers. We know what the rent is. We know what the potential for sales is. We know who the competitors are and so forth. So I'm always happy to do that with you, because that helps you see really what the store can generate for you. So does that kind of answer your question?
And what about the marketing? That definitely does. It gives me a better idea as to the square footage that I would need to do absent, be absent.
Yeah, no.
What about marketing? Because there are new developments happening every time, these different houses, different areas. What about marketing side of things? Who does the marketing?
We review that in training. You actually do it, and we have many different. In addition to the traditional marketing, which is actually less and less effective. More and more people are online. People don't read the newspapers nearly as much. I do, because I'm a dinosaur, but most people don't. So newspaper advertising has much more limited value. A lot of our stores have transitioned to social media. It's extremely powerful and virtually cost-free. When you first open, we always recommend you do a grand opening ad and have a little bit of a splash. We've got a whole program for grand openings with we walk you through to do some giveaways. One big thing that a lot of our stores do, which is very successful, is when they first open their store, they do a kind of a grand opening, and they let that run for a couple of 2 or 3 weeks, and uh, they have their customers fill in entry blanks for drawings, and maybe they give away a mountain bike that costs $100 at Walmart, and 19-inch flat screen TV that costs about the same, and some gift certificates to be used in the store, and maybe a few other items. So they do that, and everybody that comes into the store fills out one of those entry blanks, drops it in the box, and they include their email address in that entry blank so we can reach out to them when they win, and a phone number. But what that does for the store owner is now, by the time they do that drawing and give away those few items, they've got a database of hundreds of people's emails so they can market to them. And what they do, for example, is we're coming up on Halloween here soon, so they would take a few pictures of some key Halloween items they just received, put a quick email together, and say, to all these folks that have been in their store, come on in. We just got 500 new items in Halloween. They all sell for $1. Get in while the selection is great, and you'd be amazed. Within a couple hours, people start coming in. You set up a Facebook page, which is also very powerful, and once you get people to follow you, you can do the same thing on your Facebook page. And it's a great way to advertise. And then we have any other number of programs that you can use that I call guerrilla marketing, where you don't have to spend very much money and you get a great return. Just like with that email program, you're marketing to people that have already been in your store. They know what you're about, and they're happy to come back. Whereas if you put an ad in the paper, 5,000 people may see it, and 2 of them may come in. It's really not cost effective. Another thing that actually I did years ago, and I have my own stores, is I partnered with a lot of the youth sports leagues, which was I kind of stumbled on it by accident, and it was such a great arrangement that a lot of our stores now do it. And what I did was my children were playing Little League Baseball, and I was coaching. And every time I turned around, we were selling candy bars or gift wrap or some other thing that my wife and I ended up buying half of. So I talked to our league president. I said, I've got a store, and if you would like to print up flyers saying that next Tuesday night is going to be Red Rock Little League night at my store, and have your parents come in, I will rebate 5% of whatever they buy to the league. And I thought I'd see maybe 10, 15 people. I probably had 100 or more people in my store that Tuesday night. People that had never been in my store before, had no idea I was there because they were outside of my area, but played in that little league, or their children did. And I had customers for life. They were excited. The league made a lot of money. That their parents got real value for the money that they spent, and I got new customers. It was fantastic. So there are many programs like that, and in training we spend a lot of time talking about ways to market your store. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Next question. Next question.
Hi, this is John from Alexandria.
Yeah, Jonathan, go ahead.
Hi. I had a question. Do you have a veterans incentives, like for military veterans?
Yes, we do. Are you a veteran?
Yes, I am.
Thank you for your service. What branch?
The Army. The Army. Yes.
Man after my own heart. Thank you again for your service.
Thank you.
Yeah, we offer a discount on the package, and I can't give it to you over the phone, but if you call me, I'll give it to you. So.
Oh, great.
Yeah, absolutely, we do that.
Oh,
and
good.
I should give everybody my number while we're talking here for just a minute. If anybody wants to jot it down, you can always call your representative with questions, but I'm happy to talk to you as well anytime. My number here in the office is 702-637-3389, and it's also on the email that you would have gotten, and I think the text came from my number as well. But, so don't hesitate.
And what's your name again?
John LaFronz. I'm the only John here that doesn't flush, so you can ask for John and you'll get me.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Hello.
John. Yes, good evening. How are you?
Hi, this is Tony in Texas. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
I just wanted to know if for any reason you get through the financing, you open up the store, something happens, can the store be sold? Can you sell the store?
Yeah, absolutely. The store is yours, so in the likelihood maybe you have an illness or you decide
Right.
to retire and move to Florida, you can always sell the store. It's 100% yours. Not obligated to
Okay.
us anyway. And sometimes we can help you with that. If you say, I want to sell the store, call us up. Ask, do we have anybody in our area that's looking for a store? Maybe we can put you two in contact. Or help you advertise it, write ads for Craigslist and whatever. So, yeah, absolutely. You can take any route you choose with regards to that.
Okay, and on the business plan, the setup, and I may be ahead of myself, but is there a specific format? Like, is it set up under an LLC or is it something,
Um,
you know?
Good question. It's a very good question. Most owners end up doing an LLC, but I'm always going to recommend that you talk to perhaps a person that does your taxes or a financial advisor if you have one, because everybody's financial situation is a little bit different, and what is perfect for you might not be the best for another individual. So I'm always going to defer to the experts, but most often an LLC is the least expensive to establish. It gives you a pretty good amount of protection. Um, and a lot of our owners actually just use LegalZoom or somebody like that to set it up. I think it costs about $300. But you should ask, um, what's the best situation for you, always.
Okay, that sounds really good.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Great question. Appreciate it. Next question.
It's Tim from Indiana.
Tim,
I
good
have,
evening.
yes,
Where in Indiana are you?
Evansville.
Ah, been there a few times. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I got three questions. You mentioned case packs and breaking them earlier.
Yes.
Inventory, is there an upcharge when you break the case pack?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Okay.
The suppliers will do that as a matter of course for us. The only exception being if it may be an item, maybe there's an item that's you can picture like a glass vase, for example, and they may be packed in sixes inside, but the master carton actually protects them better when they ship. So there's always going to be that odd item that they don't want to break a pack on, and there's a good reason for it. But almost always they will, and no, there's no upcharge.
And what about damaged materials if they're damaged? And
Okay.
the second half of that particular question is return.
Okay, if they're damaged in transit, obviously that's a freight claim, and we teach you how to write and process them. If it's an item that was, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just listening.
Okay. So if it's damaged in transit, that's a freight claim. If the item is damaged due to poor packing by the supplier, 9 times out of 10 they will make good on that because your business is important to them. So if you get a carton of 24 widgets and 6 of them got banged around in transit, most often they're just going to give you a credit on your next order to make that go away. It's not a guarantee, but most often that's what they'll do. I've had situations. Returns for defectives, yes, they will do that. They won't take returns on merchandise just because you want to return it. But if something's defective or damaged, yeah, absolutely, they stand behind that.
Okay, last question. With the deposit, you said you would do a demographic study of the area. Does that include household income and potential accounts?
Yes, yeah. Once you get into site location, for every location that we determine is worthy of you taking a look at, you're going to get the population at 1, 3, and 5 miles. You're going to get the household income at 1, 3, and 5 miles, the ethnicity, whether the homes, what percentage are owned, what percentage are rental occupied. There's so much information, and we use it all to discern if that's a good location or not. Household income is a big indicator for us. There's a little bit of noise there. If somebody's got some background noise, please mute unless you have a question. Thank you. Go ahead, sir.
As you're discerning that, do you estimate what potential revenue per year based upon the size and the amount of inventory?
Yes, and in fact, as you might have missed that earlier, when we get to the final set of conditions from a landlord from what the lease is going to look like, At that point, I know what the rent is, I know who the competitors are and all the other factors. Then yeah, I can sit down actually and do like an estimated P&L with you for that location before you ever put pen to paper and sign a lease.
Okay, so we can explore all those opportunities and still have the opportunity to say, no, this isn't for me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We do that all the time. You know, sometimes we can't find that great location. It does happen. Not often, but it does. Sometimes people just decide, you know, that I think I want to go in another direction. Whatever those reasons are, as I mentioned, or no reason at all, not an issue.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Have a good evening, sir. Next question.
Hello.
Hi,
this
who's this?
is Rochelle from Illinois. How are you?
Okay. From where, Rochelle? I'm sorry?
Illinois, from
Illinois.
the Chicago area.
Okay. How are you?
My question, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Good, thank you.
My question is the products. Do the products come from you all? Are all the products coming from different vendors? And what is the turnaround time to order and receive products?
Okay, good questions. The answer to the first one is the product is coming directly from the vendors. We negotiate the prices for you, but you're ordering directly from them. Now, for your opening store orders, we will write those orders after consultation with you. We'll review the products, the categories, and so forth, and our merchandise manager at that point will know everything there is to know about your location, the competitors, and so on. All the markers that have to do with the location itself, the household income, the ethnicities, is it younger, is it older, and so on. And then she'll talk to you and get your input as to your thoughts specifically about product. Then she'll write a recommended set of orders and she'll send them to you, and then you will review them with her. You'll approve them all. We want you to be totally in tune with what's going into your store. And then we place those orders because we have to schedule the delivery, and that's all part of your store package to make sure that everything gets there timely. But then going forward, you're dealing then directly with the vendors. We can give you assistance if you need placing, tracking, especially in the early days. You know, our staff here is going to help you do replenishment orders. As you get more and more comfortable with that, we back away a little bit, and you kind of take over that process. And we help you get ready for every season and holiday. So well in advance, you know, we're making sure that you have all the product information. We help you place those orders, especially the first year. We have seasonal signage that you get. We give you a schedule to show when that should go up and so on. But I guess to answer your original question, yeah, you're buying directly from the vendors. We don't take a commission or percentage or anything like that. You're always getting the lowest possible price directly from the suppliers.
And just so I'm clear, you all are going to set up the original order, and then you'll pass along to us the vendors that you are using?
Yes, and also the vendors that you didn't use that are also in our network. Because over time, you may want to add different categories or explore another vendor for general merchandise. So yeah, you'll have all of that information before we ever open your store.
And just out of curiosity, the vendor list, like how many vendors do you all network with?
Okay, there are about 80 on our list right now. But most stores typically will use, say you had a 2,000 square foot store, you would use probably 16 vendors, something like that. Depending on where you are, it might vary a little bit, but in Chicago, probably about 15 or 16. And some would be general merchandise suppliers, which cover a lot of categories, and some of them would be more specialty suppliers, as I might have mentioned earlier, for greeting cards, electronics, cosmetics, where they only supply one category of product, so because they're the best at it.
Okay, thank you.
And to just say, you're welcome. And just to expand on that for a second, because I know somebody else will have this question. And you are not obligated to buy from any of our suppliers. You can buy from whomever you choose after your store is open. I know that most often you're going to stay with a lot of those suppliers because the price and the quality is going to be the best out there, but you're not obligated to do that. And a lot of times stores may have local vendors that have unique product that they want to add to their stores. Perfectly okay to do so. We're not a franchise. So don't dictate what you can or cannot have in your store. It's your store 100%.
And all the vendors on the list are gonna offer the 20 to 25% discount because we are part of your network. Is that correct?
Absolutely. There may be one or two that don't, but absolutely, the overall majority do that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. Next question?
Hi, Derek, once again.
Yes. So what can I do for you?
About business financing, about the 100% loan option.
Mhm.
If I decide to choose that one, can I put the store as collateral?
No.
Do you know that?
Yeah, I know that you cannot do. Now, let me think for a second. SBA, no, they won't do that. They won't do that either. No, it's not possible because it's a brand new business.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Derek. Appreciate it. Next question?
This is Tony from Texas. I would just like to expound on what he was saying, what Derek was saying. So once that dollar store is paid for, the first one, you can then use it as collateral for the next one. Is that not right, Sue?
Well, it depends on the lender. Certainly, that's certainly a possibility. You know, if you have good business history, which you would, I would say it's certainly possible that you could go to your bank and get a traditional business loan. Say, you know, I want to go back, I want to expand now. Sometimes SBA has programs for that as well, and it's easier once you have an operating business that's generating a nice profit. It gives you many more options. Startups are always a little tougher because there's no history there.
Thank you. And so I did have an additional question. Actually, it was about the quality. So I know a lot of times when you're purchasing things, you know, when you actually get the product, the quality is not as expected. I understand that you guys have been working with these 80 vendors, and so the quality is probably pretty good. But on that off chance that you get a large quantity of something, the quality is not as you expected, what happens generally in those cases?
I'm going to say that, and a very good question, that it almost never happens in our world. And I'll tell you why. Because I do the traveling, our owner does some of the traveling, and we hold all that product in our hand. And we make sure that not only is the item of good quality, but that the packaging as well. And it's, you know, I was talking to somebody the other day, and we were talking about just that. And I was looking at two suppliers that had virtually the same set of pliers in hand tools. Virtually the same. One of them was in like a plastic bag with a little cardboard header card stapled to the top. And I was in their showroom, and half of them had fallen on the floor because the item was too heavy for the package. So it fell out. And then I was at another supplier later in the day, and they had, as I said, virtually the same tool, but it was on a heavy cardboard backing card. It was zip tied to the card. It cost like 3 cents more than the other one, but it looked like twice the item. The quality of the packaging made all the difference. So, I mean, if you did happen to get an item from one of our suppliers that was clearly substandard, my gut tells me they'll make it right for you. But as I say, it's very, very rare that would even happen in our network.
Because the reason I asked is because I personally go to dollar stores like probably everybody on the call, and you know, some of them are just really well put together, and some of them are just really not. And
just junk.
And you're right, you probably find the same thing, but the quality is just a little bit off.
Yeah, and the key is, you know, unfortunately, or fortunately for all of us, a lot of independent suppliers don't have that, or independent store owners rather, don't have that level of supplier support. So they're kind of buying blind. They're buying from a catalog or off the internet, and there's no way you can effectively evaluate an item that way. You're looking at a picture in 2 dimensions. You got to hold the product. I mean, I'll grab an item and I'll rip it out of the package at a supplier and see if it does what it's supposed to do. You know, I'll grab a pliers, a slip joint pliers. Does it adjust like it should? Things like that. You know, I'll take a magnetic pickup tool and pick things up with it. You know, does it pick up anything heavier than a screw? And so on. You know, I want to make sure that the product, even though it's only selling for $1, it should do what it was designed to do. Somebody's got some music playing in the background. Could you stifle that, please? Just mute your phone. we'll hope for the best. Does that kind of answer your question?
You did. Thank you very much. Thanks for
Thank you very much. Next question.
This is Rochelle again from Chicago.
Oh, always a pleasure. What's up?
Just like the other young lady just said, I shop in the dollar store all the time. And one of the reasons I wanted to get into this, I just figure it's a no-brainer. But clearly, some stores have not survived. Can you give us reasons, perhaps, that you may know of that they would not survive?
Yeah, and there's usually a couple of reasons. One is always going to be location. You want to have a location, obviously, where people can see you. And if you've been to that store, you've seen it, so I know that that might not be the situation there. The second thing is to make sure that you negotiate a lease that's going to allow you to be as profitable as possible. You know, a lot of times people will open a store, they've never been in business before. They don't have the expertise to know what the market is getting for rental rates, what they should be getting for rental rates, so they may stub their toe with regards to their rent. And that's a big number, and it never goes away. As long as you have your lease, you're stuck with that number. The biggest thing is that, and I think you kind of alluded to this earlier, or the other young lady did, the quality of the merchandise. So a lot of independent owners are between a rock and a hard place when it comes to product. And this is what I mean. They can buy product that's kind of on the margins of having quality because that's what they can afford to pay for the item and still be profitable. Or they have to pay too much for a better quality item and then they can't generate any profit out of that item. That is why the merchandise network is such a key in our stores and in our program. Because if I can only buy items in my store that sell for or cost me, say, 60 cents at the absolute outside as an owner, I say, gee, I can only do that. And I've got to, if I want this widget over here, I've got to pay 75 cents for it from this guy. Well, I may not make any money doing that. But in our program, you're not going to pay 75 cents for that widget. So maybe you pay 60 or 55 or whatever that number turns out to be. So you can have that item, whereas your competitor cannot. Or if he has it, he's going to go out of business trying to sell it. So the big thing is our business is largely, at the end of the day, it's a business of pennies, you know. And I've had owners over the years that sometimes will talk and they'll say, you know, I don't really want to do an order with X right now because it's $1,000 minimum. I just want to pick up a few things for the weekend. And there's a local guy in town where I can go to his warehouse and pick them up. I said, well, what are you paying? And we went down the line, and maybe they're paying 10 cents or 15 cents an item more than they would have. And I said, you can do that, but now you're kind of carving into the profit for yourself. Is that wise? Or is it better to wait a week and place a meaningful order with a supplier where you're going to get the acceptable margin that you have to be successful? And the average margin that you maintain in your store is so critical. We have our stores set up a purchase log so that on a running basis, every time you get an order and you're posting how many pieces I got from the supplier and what was the average cost, and then I aggregate that over and over again so that I know at any given point in time what the average cost was of all the purchases in my store, because it's a number you want to watch all the time. It's, you know, sales is a great number. You can go out of business doing great sales, but you have to buy properly too. And that's if an independent struggles, that's almost always going to be the reason. Either they had to buy product they really couldn't afford to sell, or they couldn't buy product that people wanted because they were trying to keep that margin intact. And in our program, you can have that product and make money selling it. So that's kind of the difference.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, that was really windy, and I apologize.
No, that was perfect. Those were kind of the things that, I thought about, but just wanted to confirm with you, the expert. Thank you.
Sounds like you may be the expert here in another minute or two. Thank you very much for the questions. Next question. Okay. Hello? Are there any other questions?
Hold on. You mentioned something about the lease agreement.
Yes.
This is John again. I thought I understood earlier that you guys negotiate the lease agreements. Did I
Yes.
get that wrong?
No, absolutely. I think what that person's question was why do you see some stores that struggle and close? And what I was saying is that they're independents. They may not have had any experience in negotiating a lease and perhaps ended up paying.
Hello?
That was more in response to her question about why she sees some stores that may not do well. Not ours.
Okay. Okay.
I'm sorry, good
So I wanted to
question.
know. Thank
Any other
What about
questions?
Big Box?
Who's this? I'm sorry.
Raheem?
Oh, Martine. Yes, sir. How are you this evening?
Fine.
What can I do for you?
What about the big box store?
I'm sorry?
The big box?
Yes. Okay, good question. They are like very much like a grocery store. They start at 10,000 square feet. Um, they carry dollar and typically some dollar plus product as well. And we have expanded categories of packaged food. We create relationships with you for local suppliers for lunch meats and dairy and things like that. So it's kind of like a mini grocery store, but with a nice component of dollar type product, which is very attractive.
Yeah, frozen items.
Uh, we have access to them. They do sell for more than $1, but yes, we can provide those for you. Where are you located, Martine?
South Carolina.
Okay. Yeah, no, it can be an interesting question, or interesting concept rather. Um, Works better in a little bit more rural setting. We'd have to look and see, where you are and see if it makes sense for you there. But absolutely, yeah, we can do them.
Okay.
And if you have more questions, give me a call tomorrow. We can get a little more detail about it.
Okay.
All right, I look forward to it. Next question.
Which stores are doing better, the $1 stores or the 1, 2, 3?
The 1, 2, 3 right now is the most popular. The dollar only stores can work very, very well in the right environment. The 1, 2, 3 allows you to look at potentially many more locations because the rent becomes a little bit less important because you can support a higher rent because you have some flexibility in your pricing, whereas in a dollar only store, obviously you have to keep everything at $1, so your margins are kind of set for you. And we have a lot of interest in the 1, 2, 3 store right now, as I mentioned earlier. They're doing very well. They're exciting. They're new for people. Your customers haven't seen anything like it in most cases, so it's a great opportunity right now.
Okay, thank you. And what should I take into account if I want to upgrade? For example, I start with a dollar plus store, and then after 2 years or so, I upgrade to a 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, you can easily do that just by, you mean in another location or expanding in that location?
In at the same location.
Yeah, absolutely. We just adjust your product mix with you. It's very easy to do.
Okay, so adjustment
In
product.
fact, I
Okay.
would say it would be probably better. You would be better served to go the other way. Open up the 1, 2, 3, and if you find
Mm-hmm.
you're doing a lot of business at the top end with the $3 items, you can extend that way. Maybe go to $1 to $5 or $1 to $10. I'd start there. It's easier to do that than go the other direction.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Tony from Texas again. I had another question.
Yes, go ahead.
So, once if it's 80,000, or depending, if that on the low end 95,
Mm-hmm.
I think I heard you say at one point, the shelving, the equipment that goes into the store, does that belong to me?
Yes, absolutely. It's all yours.
Thank you.
Yeah. The package includes all of that, all the shelving, checkout, cash registers, all the interior signage. We put slat wall on all the inside walls. We go up 8 foot high with slat wall. The counters are 6 feet tall. You get jewelry displayers, sunglass displayers, greeting card racks, and so on. Yeah, all 100% yours.
And so we work with your team to try to, or is it just, since we never owned one before, do you guys like have the plan where you have input in how you want it to lay out, or is it just based on your recommendation?
No, absolutely. What I do is once we're to the point where it looks like you're going to go forward with a particular location, I'll have the drawings from the landlord, and I'll do a recommended store layout, and I'll send it to you, and then we'll talk through it. We can do whatever you want to do. Absolutely, no. There's no pressure from us to do it a certain way. You know, if I see something that I think needs to be at least addressed or questioned, I'll always do that. But ultimately, it's your store. We'll do whatever you ask us to do.
Got it. And did I understand you at one point, I don't know if it was personal or conversation with that or today, you have a team in almost every city?
I'm sorry, say that again? We have a
Do
team.
you have a setup team in almost every city?
What we do, no, we don't. We send a store setup supervisor that works out of our office, and then we hire local labor, and we put that team together specifically for your store.
Got it.
And actually, it's interesting, from time to time, we may have an owner that, and we always ask the owners to be involved and present during the store setup, because there's a lot of things that can be learned. And very often, the owner may decide to hire one of those laborers, one of the setup people, as one of their employees, because they like them, they did a good job, and now they know a lot about the store. So sometimes that works out nicely all the way around.
Thank you again.
Thank you. Next question?
This is John again.
Yes, John.
I had a question about seasonal, like during Christmas, Halloween, and different holidays during the year. I guess the proprietor is responsible for buying all the seasonal stuff from you guys.
No, you can buy from any vendor. What we always do, John, is well in advance of every season, we will send out recommended product listings from the key vendors that we have that do seasonal product, and there's probably 5 of them. We'll have already vetted those items, and we present them to you, and you make the buying decision. We can always guide you, if you need some input. And like I say, especially in the first year, it's hard to know what to buy. So what we try and do is have our stores positioned so they buy for a sellout, and then make good seasonal notes for the subsequent years. For example, you may find that you have an ornament, and we have you take counts every week, starting from Thanksgiving, or we encourage you to do so. So every week you're looking at that ornament, and I sold a dozen, I sold 2 dozen, and then all of a sudden on December 10th, you see that you're virtually out of that ornament. And typically most people's trees go up a little bit later. They do the decorating a little bit later. So you make a note, say I had 72 of that ornament and I was out by the 10th, I could probably sell another 6 dozen. So you make your note for next year. Next year I should buy 144 of that item, because the key selling period arrived and I didn't have that item. I was out of it. And then, so we help you think through those things. For example, greeting cards, Christmas cards, normally have to be mailed by the 10th if they're going to arrive on time. So you want to have pretty much a sellout by the 10th. Wrap, bows, gift bags, they sell right up to Christmas Eve. So, the bulk of your sales on those items are going to come from the 15th through the 25th, surprisingly, because people have been shopping, now they're wrapping. So, we try and work through those things with you. And so you're making your great notes, and next year you're really buying your season before this season's over. You're buying your next season basically through your seasonal notes, and when you're ready to place the orders, you just place them. The other thing that I kind of didn't touch on is the person during those holiday periods, because just to use Christmas again as an example, between Thanksgiving and Christmas, every day is like 3 days any other time of the year in terms of sales. The business gets that much faster. So you don't want to be out of anything. So if you walk into your store the day after Thanksgiving, this happened to me, and this is why I had this painful experience. You walk in the day after Thanksgiving or the Monday after Thanksgiving weekend, and you're out of red and green tissue paper, you're out of medium-sized gift bags, you're out of 24-count crayons for stocking stuffers and bag bows. And you say, oh my gosh, I got to get this stuff. Do I need to call 6 or 8 suppliers to see who has what and try and put orders together? No, you call your rep here and you say, Michelle, I need these 6 items. Who has them? And she's going to have a hot sheet on her desk for each supplier, and she'll know what they're in stock on. And she'll look at your list and she'll say, John, you need to go supplier B. He has all these items in stock right now. Let's get on the phone. Let's put an order together. And you want to get that merchandise coming right back to you so you don't miss any sales. So that person for you is like a key resource during those holiday periods. She knows what suppliers have, and she can tell you where to go to get them.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that.
Very much. Thank you. Next question. Well, okay, if nobody has any additional questions, that's great. I appreciate everybody's time. Just a reminder.
Excuse
yeah,
me, sir.
Go ahead. Yes, sir.
Excuse me, sir. Yeah, I have one more question. Is there a recommended square footage that you have seen to be very successful?
Good question. The first answer would be that every store size all things being equal, if I was developing a store and money was no object to me, which it is, but if it wasn't, I would look to do something between 3,000 and 4,000 square feet. In that store size, you can maximize all the categories without overspreading any of them. But keep in mind what I said. Any store size works well in the right situation, and we work very hard to identify those locations for you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good question. Any other questions? Well, I want to thank everybody for calling in. I appreciate your time. I know everybody's busy, and we had some great questions. Hopefully you got some good information. If you do decide to go forward, that's great. I look forward to working with you. And if you do so by next Wednesday and get your application deposit in, you will be able to take advantage of that $2,000 in free merchandise when you open your store. Lastly, if you do have more questions, and I hope that you do, please feel free to call your store representative. It should have been on the email that you got. And you can also call me as well. Again, my name's John LaFronz. I'm the general manager here, and my number is 702-637-3389, 702-637-3389. And again, I thank you all for your time and attention, and look forward to having the opportunity to work with each and every one of you. Have a great evening.